Hi, everyone. My name's Conor O'Neill. I'm a product manager with Red Hat Mobile. We're going to do a little presentation on the Red Hat Mobile application platform, BPM Suite, the two things working together, and then we're going to get a really cool demo from Maggie and Ken here. I'm just going to spend a few minutes, a little bit about mobile, a little bit about the mobile application platform, Red Hat Mobile Application Platform, if you're not familiar with it. I'm starting off with a slide that's not even mine. Anybody who's involved in mobile probably knows Ben Evans, or knows of Ben Evans from Andreessen Horowitz, A16Z. So they've had a series of presentations over the past few years. It started being called Software is Eating the World. Last year it became Mobile is Eating the World, and this year it's Mobile ate the world. And I think the really important point he makes here is scale. At each jump in scale that we have, we've gone up orders of magnitude. So we're now at potentially 5 billion plus mobile users. And what that means is you get away from thinking about things like screen sizes and stuff like that, and you think about scale and the ecosystems that mobile that enables and can provide. So we get away very much from the idea of apps, and I'll kind of touch on that a few times, not talking about apps, and also not being so hung up on the word mobile. You know, we all have mobiles. Most of the time we're not moving around. So particularly in an enterprise context, the kind of thought processes a lot of the time can be thinking around mobile workers, so people doing, mobile-related jobs, whether they're people in the field and so on. But that's really not the case at all. It's the entire gamut. It's every employee. It's every user out there, what you can do with mobile to enable that. And really that intersection of you've got users, you've got devices, you've data, and you've processes. And what can you do as an organization to facilitate instant access to that data and those processes in a user-friendly form factor. Another important point that Ben makes in their most recent deck is that tools follow processes and then reshape them. And I think that's going to be an important point for the presentation we're doing here, particularly with mobile and BPM, that sure you can model your existing processes, but what's far more exciting and interesting is then how you can transform what you're doing and how you do it now that you have these tools available to you. So that's my kind of shtick on mobile. So this is the Red Hat Mobile Application Platform in one slide. I'm sure we've got a mix of everything from people who use it to gosh, do Red Hat actually do mobile? I wasn't aware. We do. And this is a sort of a snapshot of a whole suite of features, which I will try quickly to cover. Red Hat Mobile was formed from the acquisition of an Irish company called Feed Henry. Back in 2010, when Feed Henry was really coming together as a business, there was a couple of predictions made, all of which luckily turned out to be true. One of which was that Node.js was going to take over the world, which it really, really has, particularly in terms of mobile. It just accidentally happened to be the perfect back end for mobile applications, for having millions of devices requesting generally small amounts of data simultaneously. Node.js just hit a sweet spot. And we went all in on Node.js, and that worked out really well for us, so we were pleased with that. The other one was that particularly in enterprise, a lot of the kind of problems you're trying to address in enterprise, a lot of the solutions you're building can be addressed by mobile web technologies, whether that's pure mobile, pure web, or Cordova hybrid type applications. That a lot of the time they're good enough, but not always. So, we did hedge our bets. We have kind of full SDKs for both native and hybrid applications. But in many cases, hybrid's good enough. And we have done some stuff this week showing some new work we've done around hybrid. There was a presentation earlier on by EA, who are a big user of the Red Hat Mobile Application Platform. They're all in on Ionic as well, so that turns out to be sort of ideal for them. But the third kind of decision or prediction we made was that developers like to use their own tools. We all know this. If you know any developer, they don't want prescriptive approaches to doing their job. They have sets of tools they like using. If they want to do mobility, they want to be able to do that in conjunction with what they're already used to. So we basically built a platform that's extensible, pluggable, very non-prescriptive in terms of workflows and so on. So as long as there's APIs, as long as there's CLIs, and as long as there's Git, which provide all of those, developers can really be effective using the platform. So fundamentally what you see here is on the back end it's a containerized Node.js implementation. What we're actually showing here with these two boxes, up until about a month ago, that green box was over on the right, and what we're really trying to explain here is as of last month, the MBAS piece, the mobile backend as a service piece, which I'll talk a little bit about in a second, can be deployed into the OpenShift container platform, wherever that may be. Generally, people think we're talking on-premise, but it's wherever you can deploy the OpenShift container platform. You can now deploy all of your backend code. So that's perfect for those who need that code to be, for example, running behind the firewall and so on. But really in there is the real kind of power of kind of cloud enabling mobile applications. So you have really everything you need in terms of you've got your Node.js code, it's Express Web Framework, so it's very standard. We're not doing anything unusual, anything proprietary. We've got connectors in there. Every app and every cloud service there has its own Mongo database, and having a Mongo database and having a caching layer that we have as well is really critically important to a lot of the types of applications that we're involved with, because we're mobilizing systems that were never meant to be mobilized, including mainframes, and having that capability in there has been of huge benefit. There's also a lot of stuff around enabling RESTful APIs, and that's I suppose we'll talk about the runtime, but equally importantly is the management of what you're doing, so that teams can work effectively together, that you have lifecycle management, and you have all of these things that sort of enable you to build your apps in an enterprise context. On the mobile side, as I said, we're very non-prescriptive there. A lot of the time it'll be web technology, sometimes it's native. It really depends on the context, it depends on the scenario that you're dealing with. And there's a whole suite of kind of services and applications that are available there to make that possible. Two other aspects of the platform sometimes get overlooked. I suppose maybe we've just got a little used to them and we forget they're actually very powerful and very unique. EA reminded us again today. One is our build farm. So this means that you can build your application binaries in the cloud. So you don't need a Mac to build iOS binaries, which is very unusual. You can build native, you can build hybrid. But equally importantly, you don't have to be a developer. And this is really important in an enterprise context where you could have a configuration manager, a release manager. This isn't the person who's written the code. This is the person whose job is generate binaries, distribute binaries, whether it's MAM, MDM, or public app store. And that's turned out to be a really critical feature for us. And the other side of it is what we call a rapid mobile application development. Well, we don't call it rapid mobile application development. Analysts call it rapid mobile application development. We call them drag and drop apps or forms builder. And that's the ability to build apps with no code. So literally drag fields into forms, create multiple forms, create rules around those forms and so on, and then generate that binary and distribute it. And you can do all of that with no developer help at all, and that has turned out to be another kind of sweet spot for us. So all of these sort of features together can deliver you a platform that enable you to do what you want to do. So that's it, I suppose, in terms of features. But talking about value, the first one I want to talk about there is we expedite innovation to market. And I just want to quickly talk about it, and I need to get their name right. Royal Bank of Scotland is one of the biggest banks in the UK. They're headquartered in Edinburgh, which may turn out, we'll see how that turns out for them, being in the UK. But they're a huge bank. They launched the Open Experience Technology Centre back in February. So this is an innovation centre for a massive bank that's trying to do the next generation of applications for both users and internally. And it's built on two things. It's built on the OpenShift container platform and it's built on Red Hat Mobile. So they see those are the two things that deliver innovation in their enterprise and in their wider organization. And that really just that nails it for us, that They're all in on that. It's not about, ticking a box to say, well, we're doing apps, we're doing mobile apps as well as web apps as well as, desktop apps. It's mobile. And maybe that mobile app is actually running on a tablet or can be, visualized on a desktop, but it's fundamentally about mobile and containers. So that's been kind of, it was a huge thing for us for RBS to kind of make that decision in terms of how they're going to do that. We talk about accelerating application development. Now, any developer can build a mobile app. Pretty much any developer can probably build a Node.js backend for their mobile app. But then that's one developer doing it, and they then have to manage and maintain and take care of that forever. And really that's the value for the platform in general is the fact that it's usually not one developer in an enterprise context. It's teams of developers, it's outsourced developers, it's designers, it's agencies. And how do you get all of these people working together efficiently to be able to actually deliver these apps? And you don't DIY. I'm going to refer to EA again. That was the fundamental decision they made. Are we in the business in this group in EA of building apps or of building an app platform? And they went with buy rather than DIY, which obviously we're very happy with. I mentioned the ORMAD tools, the forms builder again. That's another way of getting that sort of acceleration. We talk about increasing operational efficiency. I'm sure every single presentation this week has increasing operational efficiency, but really a mobile platform is all about making you efficient. More apps, more quickly. We take care of all of the nitty-gritty. You don't have to worry about it. Again, EA today, they described us as a black box, but in a good way. We just handle it. That's what a platform's for. Lets you focus on your job. Whatever your job may be, we handle all of the other stuff. Enable DevOps, I always sort of, how would I describe it? It's enabling DevOps if that's what you want to do. It's possibly getting you on the journey to DevOps. It's providing processes and tools that let you do things the way you want to do and go on your journey. It may not be you're all DevOps next week, but we have to provide the facilities and the flows and everything around, CI and CD, and all of that needs to be possible to get, enterprises from where they are now to where they actually want to be. And driving user engagement, that's on multiple levels. I mean, you generally think, well, it's user engagement in the app. It's not just user engagement in the specific apps and making sure that, your app projects and your app initiatives are successful. It's actually getting them engaged across the board in terms of your life cycle. We have lots of customers now who, they're not building an app and then handing it out to employees or handing it out to customers. They're going and talking to them first and doing the workshops and figuring out, well, what is it these people actually need? And particularly when it comes to UX and UI, how can we deliver something that they like and want to use? And really that's a huge part of what we're about and being able to deliver that. And then finally for me, one area we're very, very excited by in mobile is the wider JBoss suite and obviously OpenShift. The wider JBoss suite for us, there's two pieces I suppose we're considering today. One is BPM, and when it comes to anything around complex flows, the idea of being able to mobilize those is just fantastic for us. I mean, business processes in general are just a perfect match for going mobile. So you're going to see a lot more about that in the next few minutes. And then, having the deep integration capabilities of something like Fuse. Really, mobile plus Fuse together is another one that just works incredibly well or incredibly complementary to each other. But also they're nice because it allows enterprises to really put the effort where they wish. If they want to upskill in Node.js and really focus on the mobile side of things, they can do that. But if they are, Java EE based, they can still use the mobile platform and focus on their expertise on the Java EE side and making use of everything around Fuse and enterprise integration. And that's really, today what we're going to see now, we're going to hear a lot from Phil now in a second about BPM, and then the demo hopefully will tie all of this together and show how it all works beautifully together. So that's it from me. I'll hand over to Phil.
Thanks, Connor. Hi, everyone. My name is Phil Simpson. I'm the product marketing manager for business process management and business rule systems at Red Hat. I just want to take a few minutes to introduce the other technology that we're going to be demonstrating today. That's our BPM Suite, Business Process Management Suite. Very quickly, this graphic is BPM in a nutshell. Business process management is all about automating the steps in a business process. So think of an insurance claim moving through an organization, various steps that it has to go through, the various processing that it has to go through. BPM Suite allows the business to define that workflow as a flowchart. So you create a flowchart in a format known as BPM N2, which is a standard for the way these process models are laid out. That flowchart can then be deployed to the business process management system, which will then drive work automatically through those steps according to that model. So in this example, we have, say, an insurance claim coming in on the left side of this diagram. It's going through each of these various steps. And the BPM system is tracking it as it moves through the organization, through the process, so that at any time we have a very clear picture of where the work is within the organization. We're able to distribute work both to individuals that are perhaps the experts looking at a particular step in the process, and also to interact with other systems, maybe legacy systems or packaged applications that work on that claim. So at a very high level, that is what a BPM system does. Value, really, it's all about efficiency and agility, the ability to rapidly change the way that our organization works. As, for example, we bring out new products or we have a change in the regulations that affect the way that we do work. BPM provides that level of agility that makes it much easier to change the processes compared to, for example, coding them in Java or COBOL or just manually having the rules in people's heads. A related technology that we're also going to be seeing today is business rules management. So business rules management really covers the decisions that are made within the context of a process. So whenever a claim needs to be adjudicated or we need to make a decision about whether this might be a fraudulent claim, a business rules system encapsulates the policies and the rules that are used to make those decisions. Again, the idea is to make those rules much more visible and manageable by the business as opposed to by the IT organization. So when I think about the value of this technology, I usually summarize it in 3 words: visibility, agility, and consistency. What we're delivering with rules and BPM is the ability for an organization to visualize and see the rules and the policies that conduct their decisions, the ability to visualize the processes, the process models that are used to drive work through the organization, the ability to make changes very rapidly compared to, for example, changing code or changing manual processes, and the ability to know that you're going to do the same work the same way every time. The same claim will be processed in the same way through the same steps. Very important for industries that are heavily regulated, for example. So that's kind of in a nutshell that back-end technology. I just want to introduce now what you're going to see today in the demo. This is a very high-level graphic. It illustrates the basic components of the demo. We'll be seeing the mobile technology as well as the back-end middleware, the business process system running in the cloud. In particular, we are going to see, firstly, a dynamic questionnaire running on a mobile device driven by rules. So we have an application that runs on the mobile that's leveraging the business rules system at the back end to figure out what questions to ask of the user. The particular application here is an insurance claim, so the questionnaire is actually about filing an insurance claim. And we'll see the various questions that it asks, and as you answer some questions, it prompts you with more questions driven by the answer to your previous questions. That's all driven by the rules engine. We're going to see the mobile application submit claims to the back-end system using REST APIs. It'll invoke the business process management system to kick off a business process to process that claim. We're going to see BPM itself, the Business Process Management Suite, and we have a really cool little animated graphic that will show whereabouts in the process model this particular claim is, and we'll see that in a second. We have a number of tools, also mobile-based tools that are used by, in this case, insurance adjusters to take a look at that claim, again, using the mobile platform to integrate with BPM. And finally, and most excited about this, we'll be seeing push notifications sent back to the mobile device. If any of you are familiar with push notifications, it's a very complex technology where I believe today we have both an Android and an iPhone, and we're going to be able to send push notifications back to those devices directly from the back end at various points. So that's kind of setting the scene. What I'd like to do now is hand over to Ken from Vizuri. So Vizuri is a Red Hat partner. They've worked with us on this demo, and in particular worked on the questionnaire, the rules-driven questionnaire. And I think Ken has a few words to say about that before we get into the demo itself.
Right.
I think you have one.
I think I should be good. Yep. All right. So just really quick about Vizuri. My name is Ken Spokus. I'm a technical director at Vizuri. Vizuri is an expert consultant group, a group of expert consultants who work on middleware technologies. We've been partners with JBoss actually before the Red Hat acquisition, so we started consulting on JBoss 3, and we've definitely seen a big explosion of all the new and wonderful technologies that have come in. We have practice areas that focus around rules and business processes, enterprise integration such as messaging and Fuse and Camel and that sort of thing, and we also have a group that looks into cloud enablement through Docker and OpenShift. So that's us. But what we did about a year ago, what started this whole thing about a year ago, we created a dynamic questionnaire demo, and it was a web app, just a regular browser app. And the idea was just to show the different things that we can do with rules. Is we have this form that collects complex data, and we have rule sets that define the rules, figure out which order they pop in what type of information we're collecting. We have some other rules that kind of figure out if you answer this one question with a particular value, it may prompt you for some other things. We had some other rules that do validation, complex validation, as well as rate calculation. And we've got the code for this, and I can get that for you if you're interested. But what the impetus was, we wanted to show this on a mobile platform and kind of tie it in with the BPM to see that come together. So just the dynamic questionnaire itself, what's pretty interesting about it, I mean, this is, we have a lot of different conditions that may change what we're collecting information for, and this goes across all different kinds of industries, not just insurance, but if I have, if I'm in a particular state or in a particular date, states and dates are usually the big thing that add complexity, and I have a lot of these different exceptional cases that may change what I'm trying to collect. And so rules fits really well here with a declarative approach to building those things. And obviously, and as I said, lots of different industries kind of, fall into this. Like it's usually when we have something outside of our entity that's kind of forcing these things upon us, like a standards, the Accord standard or standards that are regulated upon us. So just real quick, let's talk about the system architecture and the specific architecture that we're going to look at today. As Phil mentioned, we have in OpenShift we have a copy of the BRMS and the BPM Suite running, and it's allowing us to author the processes and the rules that we're going to do, and it's exposing them through a RESTful web service. And we have some back-end services that are running in the Red Hat mobile space. We, as Connor mentioned, these are Node.js apps. So each one of these boxes over here is basically a Node.js server. So we have, for the claims MBAS service, this is a custom service that we did to kind of tie together with our Business Central, with all of our knowledge information over here on OpenShift. And that's an example of a custom MBAS service, and obviously you have some out of the box, as Connor mentioned. I need a database. I can go. It's a lot like OpenShift. I can say I need a database, and now I've got a Mongo database available for me. And then what we also have is some back-end apps. We have an adjuster app and a customer app. So the idea is one application is going to be the customer. I had an accident. Something happened. I want to capture that information, start a claim, take some pictures, take some information, and then the push notification will come over to the adjuster to do their work. So we'll look at this again. I know this is this is the business process that we're looking at. So I just wanted to kind of go through that. So for this life cycle of this claim, what we have here is, so the customer will start off an app, and it will start off, and it will do some processing. It will run some rules to kind of validate that application, that claim made against it. And all of these green boxes are where it's going to push information out, like those are where the push notifications are going to be. And this box here is an ad hoc task, right? So once we enter into this task, any one of these things can happen. So for example, it can continue. This is a collection phase, and it's getting into an unstructured place where doesn't have a single start and end. I can continually add information, and then the exit criteria out of here is that this claim has been finished. And that criteria is given here by the human task here that's done by the adjuster. So when the adjuster looks at it, says this has been approved or this has been denied, then it will drop out of the big box, and it will go down, and it will end either in a good acceptance state or a denial state. So that's a mouthful. Let's see it in action. And of course, we're going to try to do this like totally live. So what we have here is we're using a technology called Reflector. Is yours working?
Yeah.
Can you click? Okay, and it lost mine, so 1 second. Oh, I know why.
Well, Ken's working on that. My name is Maggie Hu. Hi. Real quick intro. I'm a middleware specialist, solution architect at Red Hat. Last year, I actually got to work on a very cool demo for Summit as well, integrating between mobile application platform and BPM Suite. So today, what you're going to see is actually an enhanced version. And really last year's session, like what Connor was describing, as my background really has been on the Java side, Java EE side, middleware. So when I first got my feet wet on mobile application platform, I was like, oh my gosh. But then I quickly used the drag and drop app functionality within Red Hat mobile application platform and just pretty much installed it on my phone, and it was really cool. So
dangerous in seconds.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so everything's working. So let's try and go through this before it stops.
Yep.
So what we have here, this is live. So this is streaming my phone and her phone. I'm the Vizuri one. She's the Red Hat one. But I'll be the claimee. I'll be submitting a claim. What we have here in the background here is that same process that we're looking at. And when we start this claim, I'll get a process ID that corresponds to this claim. And if I put it in here every couple seconds, it'll keep updating. So we'll see it kind of go through the process. All right. So let's get started. So when I come in here and I say I'm going to submit a new claim, I have to tell it what kind it is. And so we have several kinds here. We have a collision, windshield problem, or a collision problem, or a hail. So I'm going to select windshield and give it a dollar amount. And when I submit this incident, it pulls down this. So this definition here, it's hard to see, but it's asking me a series of questions, and these series of questions are coming out of the rule engine. So the rule engine says that these 3 questions must be here. And every time I click one of these things, for example, I answered that particular question. That was pretty quick. It actually took all of the information that was here, sent it back up to the rule engine that did some magic, and sent it back down here and said you need to change the state on your application. So when I go ahead and finish this, it's going to start a BPM process.
And I just got a push notification actually showing up.
So what we'll do is we'll get that process ID number is 309. So you'll see here, this is what's going on here. It grays out the path that we've taken so far. And what we can do is I can go ahead and put that on auto update. And it'll just keep doing that. So what we'll do now is you'll give me give me a notice.
Right, so I'm reviewing the claim, and looks like I need some photo. So I'm going to put in the comment. And I just save my comment.
And you'll see instantly I get a push notification, hey, you got some updated information in here. So I can come down here. I can see she's asking me to add a photo. It also shows it's constantly updating here. These are comments that are attached to that BPM process that we're managing here. So this is actually better than I thought it would be. So let's see if we can break it with let's select a photo.
And the network has been slow, so
it's been a little.
All the people on the network.
So we'll see if we can push a photo up there. Okay.
And I just got another push notification that the claim has been updated.
And we'll see that this background process, that image has actually been attached to the business process. And we could actually go into Business Central to the management console and see this process and see these comments and see these documents that are being added to it. All right, do you want to do a live picture?
Yep. So, is it okay if I take a picture of the audience? Yeah? Okay.
Cover your face if you don't want to be pictured.
Yep. Here we go.
And so that is uploading through the very slow network.
Yes.
But at any rate, that's. So why don't we go ahead and you can just why don't you just go ahead and do the approval?
Do you want me to?
You can trust us when we take pictures. They eventually will get up there and they will get attached to this process.
I could try to do it once more because maybe the network is.
She's.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it finally went through. And it's downloading. There we go. All right. Hey,
there you are. You're all
demo
famous
success.
now.
Demo nirvana.
Yeah.
All right. And so if you do the last bit we have here is if we do an approval.
Okay.
And you'll see that these things keep graying out. So this weird little circle here means that it can do one of multiple things. So what we have is when I send something, it's tagged as being from the customer. When she does something, it's tagged as being from the adjuster. And so either an adjuster or a customer can add in comments or add photos. And then it decides, do I need to send a notification to the customer or to the adjuster? And it always drops down to the bottom one, which is doing some processing.
We lost it.
And we lost it. That's okay, because we were pretty much...
I beat my phone, too.
Your phone?
I haven't approved it yet.
Okay. Yeah, we lost that. Okay, well...
Real quick. Sorry.
What we can do here is... We'll go back to the slides.
I just changed the mirroring again to see if it pick up.
Oh, did it come? I don't think it's... I think this died. I have to restart the... So Reflector does not like this wireless. But hey, we got pretty much through all of the stuff that
Yeah, let me approve it real quick so you could at least see the BPM flow going through. Okay, I just approved it.
Okay. So if we refresh this, 309.
Yep,
you'll see the entire process is closed out. Okay. So that was the demo, and there was another part which I think we'll skip because we haven't gotten kicked out. But basically, this is what the other part of the demo was going to look like. If we looked into the rules that are powering the questionnaire, I have a series of decision tables like these, and basically say if I have this particular type of incident, and if I have it has a series of questions, and I can pull these answer types. These are yes/no questions, or they're numeric, or they're strings, or they're dates, or what have you. Then I have a checkbox whether it's enabled, which means it's painted on the screen by default, and then we have some other. They can be is it required, and other things, other hints to the UI what it needs to do. So you'll see they have 3 questions here that are enabled by default, and they show up by default on the questionnaire. And what we have another rule behind the scenes says if you answer yes to the crack in your window is larger than a quarter, then it needs to enable the question that its crack is larger than $1. Obviously, you can make these much more complicated and have much more interactions between the answers to decide what's going on. What's nice about this is just out of kind of putting this in just regular logic in your code. I mean, these changes can be easily versioned and auditable in the Business Central. I mean, it packages up these rule sets into Mavenized jars. So we can get very particular about our versioning if we feel like it, or what we have in this demo, and we can try it here in a second when we get through the slides, is we actually have a scanner that runs every 10 seconds to see has a change been made, and if it has, it'll pull it in and apply it. What's nice about that, though, is it's our decision on how dynamic we want those updates to come. Okay, that's just, so this is the table that explains, so for example, if I have this particular answer is X, then go change the state of another question in my questionnaire model. And this is the scanner that I was talking about. So basically, when I press build and deploy on the Business Central for my rule set, it pushes it up into a Maven repository. Out of the box, it just puts it into, my regular, on the disk, but you can configure this to go push it up into your Artifactory or Nexus or wherever you keep these things. And I can have a live app or I can have my build farm or whatever hit this and go pull it down and package it into the next version. What we also see with the Business Central is these are, it has a web-based authoring tool that allows us to come in here and for example, put together our business processes. When I open this up, I have I have palettes on the side that allows me to pull and drag and drop. Here I have a task. Here I have a decision point. Here I have an ad hoc sub-process. Those type of things. I can click on them and drill down into the details and fix those. And as Phil mentioned, when I save this, this will be in a standard BPM N2 document that can be used with other tools as well. And this is just really reiterating. This was the demo that we saw. It was going through and moving along. But what's nice about this, that we point this out, is so everything that's in the Business Central is exposed through a REST interface. So I was able to do all of this just by calling the endpoints on Business Central and for example, pull out the image of the process as it's going through, or for this particular process ID, go pull out its documents or go pull out of its comments. Some other things that the BPM gives you kind of out of the box is that right out of the box, it keeps track of some of the metrics of the processes that are going through. So, for example, it will see here's the processes that had started and had ended, and who created them, and how long it's taking for them to get through. And you can easily extend this and put your own kind of metrics. If you have something, for example, we could very easily put something around this approval process, say these are the average ones that get approved or denied and that sort of thing. And I'm going to hand over to Maggie, and she's going to talk about Red Hat Mobile a little bit.
Okay, all right. For those of you that have not seen Red Hat Mobile Application Platform in the past, really essentially how we build out a quick mobile app, you start out by creating a new project. And within that project, as you can see here on the screen, there are 3 columns. So the leftmost column is what we call the client app. The client app essentially is really that user interface that you see, whether it's drag and drop or Cordova app or Xamarin, the hybrid. So, and then in the middle tier, that's really the glue code where it's actually in Node.js. That's really where you would do your integration logic, your logic to connect to whatever backend. And then on the right-hand side, it's actually the MBAS services. MBAS services essentially functions just like the cloud app in the middle. But the cloud app is specifically for this one project, whereas MBAS services is actually reusable, shareable amongst multiple projects. So really, essentially, that's the highlights of the different features. So what we have done, as you can see, we actually have 2 apps. One is the adjuster. The other one is the claiming. And then the BPM connector, the embed services that we have created would be, what we connect out to BPM Suite, JBoss BPM Suite. So with that. One highlight about push notification, we've seen a lot of push notifications happening on our mobile devices. Really, this is actually a project, community project driven off of AeroGears. And when I worked on the demo last year, push notification was actually its own server, and then we basically used the BPM Suite to call the REST URL of that separate unified push server. But actually here currently it has been integrated, push notification feature has been integrated into Red Hat mobile application platform, which makes it very easy to use. And I'm actually going to jump in to the config screen here. So within this push notifications, this is the client app. The client app that has the UI.
Still showing the slide.
Still showing the slide?
You have to close the, or get out of
the presenter mode?
Exit, yeah. There we go.
Okay. Can't seem to.
You can press the green circle.
All right. So this is actually the integrated version of AeroGears Unified Push Server into Red Hat Mobile Application Platform. So as you can see here, we actually need to create different variants based on the devices, so whether it's iOS or Android or Windows. So what we have done, we have created two variants. One is for Android, one is for iOS, which is what I have on my iPhone. You could also send a push notification, a test push notification just directly from here by clicking on this button. And it's really just, something quick to test it. And I could select what type of variant, and in this case, I'm going to send it to my iOS.
And you can also do.
I'm not used to your. Is it not clicking?
So you can also do Windows, and what's really nice about this.
Diction.
What's really nice about this is the AeroGears is kind of an abstraction over the unified push as it is, but then the Red Hat Mobile has another abstraction on top of this. So to get this working, it was just a couple lines of code.
Right.
So it was really just adding in a configuration, a regular Cordova configuration that goes in, and that will allow the build farm will go ahead and kind of dynamically add in all of the dependencies. And then in our code, we literally just had like a $FH, register this thing, and it just magically works, which is really cool. Because I don't know if you've ever gone through getting push notification, it's like notoriously just this difficult, especially when you're dealing with trying to deal with two different platforms, and it'll actually do Windows as well.
Yeah, so what you actually see here is you could actually get the example REST API, how you send that over to Unified Push Server. So essentially, it's really just in JSON format. You put in the message and then put in what you want to alert, and then there are all kinds of different parameters, optional parameters as well, but those are really simple. And this is essentially what we have. Also, the other key points would be like the server URL. So for example, this server URL right here, that's the integrated version of the URL, because as you can see here, that URL actually matches what my Red Hat Mobile Application Platform URL, whereas in the past, it was on its own AeroGear Unified Push Server on OpenShift. And then also there's the application ID and master secret. Those are the security parameters that you got to pass in. And coming back into BPM Suite, let's go back to our.
Oh. Go back to the other project?
Yeah.
I have the rules up, yeah. Oh, it's
Here. not used to your touchpad, sorry.
So,
it's the network.
yeah, the network is the network. But and also, as Connor was saying, I mean, this was definitely we built this little demonstration. It uses Ionic and it uses Cordova and it uses Angular and all those fun stuff there. So the one thing that I really love about the Red Hat mobile platform is it has some opinionated stuff if you want it, but it also lets you do pretty much whatever you like. So it's really cool. So actually, I think we're getting close on time.
Yeah,
this is much like our other dynamic questionnaire. We will be providing the code for this, and we'll probably be wrapping this up in a slick video that doesn't have the network issues.
Yeah.
But are there any questions or comments? Sure. Sure. So the question is, how would we enable end-to-end security from the mobile to the back end? I mean, we can certainly use for SSL for all of our communications from the back end. But as far as you can also look at like Keycloak and some of these other things that are going to give me a central way to authorize where these people are. So you can embed a token directly into the application, or you could have it just like a regular, give it a short-lived token that has to be replenished every once in a while. But so everything and point to point is going to be a little bit different, right? So when we had the server that's in Red Hat Mobile that's talking with our BPMS. So there's one pipe we definitely have to worry about, and then we have the pipe between the mobile backend that's for that particular application going to our MBAS service. But again, if you're using like a unified set of security like Keycloak, then you could pass that token along the path. Still loading.
Yeah. Too many people here at Summit, right?
Absolutely. We'll do a blog post that summarizes these things, and we'll provide so a little more documentation around it, and point to the GitHub repository with all the little bits and pieces that we have here. Absolutely. Yep.
Earlier, when you're talking about integrating the MBAS capabilities into is that the feed Henry MBAS, or is that just like some other kind of technology? OpenShift.
Sure. So the question about is when we were talking about the MBAS component, the little box that integrates with the BRMS services that are over in OpenShift. Was that something?
Yeah, like it was the feed Henry technology that Red Hat acquired. I was just wondering, is that?
Absolutely. It's definitely built on a lot of those technologies. But what's nice about the MBAS, it's kind of like OpenShift. It's like, here's a catalog of things that you can choose from. So I can pick, I want a database, I want this, I want some other functionality, but I can create my own custom functionality, and that's what we've done here. So we created our own custom little MBAS connector to connect to our claims service. So that was a business-centric API that we set up. And what's nice about it there, now that I've created this, it's kind of on my palette. And if you notice, we really had two different applications. We had the customer application as well as the adjuster application, and they're both using that that MBAS connector for our claim service. So we did a custom one, but there are all of the same things that were in the Feed Henry MBAS catalog are available in the Red Hat Mobile catalog as well.
But the actual core MBAS itself was, so I'm an ex Feed Henryite or Feed Henry person. So that our 4.0 GA, which about 4 weeks ago, was basically taking the Feed Henry stack, which had its own homegrown containerized system, based on the same core technologies as Docker, so LXC, C groups, and so on, and just porting that over to the OpenShift 3, the OpenShift container platform. But that overall capability of being able to run multiple Node.js applications, everything to do with data sync, the push notifications, all of that, basically our 4.0 GA was moving all of that onto an OpenShift deployment. Yeah, so basically Red Hat Mobile doesn't want to be the experts in building containerized systems. We'll let the OpenShift team deal with that, and then we'll focus on making sure we have the best mobile backend that can run on OpenShift. Yeah. Okay, anyone else?
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. Oh, yeah, don't miss... Go ahead.
What are they? So don't miss a discovery session, design model for rule and process-driven solutions tomorrow, and BPM in financial services tomorrow as well. Thanks.